He survived a massacre that should have ended his life. But that was just the beginning. One-man General Pang emerges from a pile of corpses, alone, broken, and with nothing left. In a war where millions die, he chooses a path that will turn him from a forgotten survivor into a feared war hero. But power in this world comes with a price, and Pang is about to pay it in blood. From building an army out of bandits, to forming a brotherhood bound by oath, to making decisions so brutal they cross the line between justice and monstrosity, every step pulls him deeper into a world where loyalty shatters and survival demands sacrifice. Because in the end, the greatest threat isn't the enemy, it's the brother standing right beside you. Before we go deeper into this story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because if you love powerful, emotional, and intense stories like this, you won't want to miss what's coming next. In 1860, the Taiping Rebellion tears through China. For 14 brutal years, civil war ravages the nation, leaving scars that will never fully heal. During one particularly vicious battle, the Qing army suffers total annihilation. A general named Pang Qingyun survives only by playing dead beneath a pile of corpses. When the battle ends, he emerges from under the corpses, the sole survivor of his entire battalion. Pang begins walking, now a fugitive with no destination. The war has displaced thousands. People flee in every direction, searching for safety that may not exist. Days pass without food. Exhaustion finally overtakes him, and he collapses on the road. A woman named Lian, who is behind him at the time, takes him to an abandoned house nearby for shelter. When Pang regains consciousness, Lian offers him soup. Suddenly, he breaks down and weeps in Lian's arms like a child, overwhelmed by the fragile thread that kept him alive. Lian, equally worn down by the chaos of war, understands his pain. In that quiet moment, they find brief comfort in each other. Pang learns that Lian had run away from home and comes to understand her past. As a child, she was sold into a cruel system where girls from poor families were groomed to become secondary wives to wealthy men. Just before her fate could be sealed, her childhood friend intervened and saved her, killing a man in the process. Forced to flee, he turned to a life of banditry, and Lian followed. Though she is grateful for her freedom, it is not the life she truly wanted. That night, their shared vulnerability draws them closer, and it ends on a deeply intimate note. By morning, Pang wakes to find that Lian is gone. He sells his weapons and armor for some change. He hears that relief grain is being distributed nearby and decides to wait. All he can do now is to live as an ordinary man. Returning to the imperial court is impossible. With his entire battalion dead, he has no honor left to claim. While waiting for the grain distribution, a bandit named Zhang Wuyang arrives with his men. After handing out some food, Zhang announces plans to recruit fighters for a raid on military supplies. He notices Pang's boots, which he recognizes as military boots, and decides he wants them. He tries to force them off Pang's feet. The confrontation turns into a serious brawl. However, Zhang soon realizes he is no match for Pang. Impressed, Zhang reconciles and asks Pang to come with him, as he'd like to introduce him to their leader. And just like that, Pang finds himself absorbed into the bandit group. The general has become an outlaw. On the way, Zhang urges Pang to join them for a raid on the Taiping army's food supply. However, he just stands by observing. As the battle intensifies and Zhang is almost killed, Pang relies on his battlefield experience and pushes a direct strategy by targeting the leader. The plan works. The Taiping soldiers retreat and they secure the much-needed food. On the journey back, Pang quietly removes his military boots and hands them to Zhang Wuyang. He says nothing, remaining distant and unreadable. When they return to the village, the villagers gather to welcome them like heroes. Without the stolen supplies, many of them would have starved. Among the crowd, Pang spots Lian, the woman he spent the previous night with. The truth quickly becomes clear. She is the wife of Zhao Erhu, the bandit leader of the village. With the food secured, the village celebrates. But the moment is short-lived. A group of official soldiers suddenly storms in and seizes everything. The supplies they fought so hard to obtain are taken without resistance. The villagers burn with anger, but the overwhelming gap in weapons and strength leaves them utterly powerless. Days go by and the villagers begin to starve. Pang steps forward with a proposal. He urges the villagers to enlist in the army, promising that military service will provide wages to feed their families, access to weapons, and they can finally defend themselves. By chance, a Qing officer named Chen is currently in need of soldiers. The timing works in their favor. However, Pang's suggestion raises suspicion. The villagers are bandits, while Pang once served the imperial side. Trust does not come easily. To settle this, Jiang proposes a blood oath, an ancient pledge of loyalty. The ritual binds members together through shared guilt and absolute commitment. The three men carry it out, sealing their bond. Pang becomes the eldest brother, Erhu the second, and Jiang the youngest. With their newly formed brotherhood and a force of 800 men, they head to meet three high-ranking Qing officials, Lord Jiang, Lord Di, and Lord Chen. Among them, Lord Di holds the most power. The soldiers who looted the village earlier answer to him. Despite Pang's past as a general, their arrival is met with mockery. When the officials learn they command only 800 men, they laugh openly, making it clear they see them as insignificant. Still haunted by his earlier defeat, Pang becomes desperate to prove himself. In front of the officials, he makes a bold promise to retake a Taiping-controlled city within 10 days and take half the spoils as payment. It is a risky gamble, but he sees it as his only chance to rise. Back at camp, reality sets in. Their weapons are in terrible condition. Most are broken and barely usable. Support is limited. A general under Lord Chen makes it clear that his 1,500 troops will only provide a show of force. If they suffer heavy losses, the imperial lords will become powerless. That leaves Pang and his men in a near-impossible situation. 800 soldiers must face an enemy force of 5,000 and win within 10 days. With only 200 functioning firearms, retreat is not an option. The only path forward is to fight to the death. Pang quickly forms a plan. He needs a small group to charge first and draw enemy fire, creating an opening for the archers to get within range. It is a suicide mission. Without hesitation, Jiang volunteers to lead the charge, and many of their men quickly follow suit. The day of the battle arrives, Jiang leads the group charging forward. The enemy soldiers shoot at them, but they refuse to retreat. The battle is brutal. The three brothers fight at the front, pushing forward against overwhelming numbers. But the gap in strength begins to show. Their forces shrink rapidly, and Pang is wounded. At a critical moment, the general under Lord Chen, watching from a distance, notices the enemy formation breaking apart. He seizes the opportunity and orders his troops to charge. The momentum shifts instantly. Jiang quickly targets the leader of the enemy soldiers and beheads him. After a fierce and costly fight, the combined forces finally capture Shu City. This victory changes everything. Lord Chen's gamble pays off, giving him a political edge over Lord Di. In response, Lord Jiang reinforces Pang by assigning him 5 additional battalions. Unwilling to lose influence, Lord Di proposes a strategy that sidelines Pang. Pang will lead the siege, but once the city falls, his subordinate General Kui will take control, and they get half of the proceedings. It is a calculated move to claim credit without doing the work. However, Pang and his men have little to no choice. They return to the village to a mixed reception. Some celebrate the victory and the spoils, while others grieve the loss of family and friends, a stark reminder of the harsh realities of war. While talking with Erhu, Liang discovers that Pang is staying outside the village. She races across the open fields toward the abandoned house where they had stayed the night before, instinctively drawn to him. But as she reaches the doorway, doubt grips her, and she slowly turns back, unable to enter. Pang's army has grown rapidly from 1 battalion to 6. With increased strength, each operation to capture rebel-held cities are highly successful. However, frustration builds. Each time they secure a victory, Kui steps in to take over the city. Pang and his men gain nothing from their sacrifices. Without powerful backing, they are left to do the hardest work while others reap the rewards. After one victory, 2 young soldiers commit a heinous act, raping 2 women. Enraged, Pang enforces justice immediately, executing them and imposing strict military discipline across his ranks. Soldiers who commit crimes like rape will be executed without hesitation. He leads with strong principles and a clear sense of order. Emboldened by his recent victories, Pang sets his sights higher, planning to launch an attack on the rebel-held city of Sujo. Meanwhile, far from the battlefield, Lord Chen and Lord Di engage in a quiet political game. Beneath the calm surface, both men test each other's intentions. Lord Di ridicules Pang's bold attempt to capture Sujo with such limited forces, calling it reckless. Lord Chen, confident in Pang's skill, believes he will succeed. Fueled by jealousy, Lord D proposes cutting off reinforcements and supplies, hoping to undermine him. However, this doesn't deter Pang, who's determined. He launches a conquest against Sujo. The reality proves far harsher than expected. The city is heavily fortified, with massive walls and strong defenses. Even after a full year of continuous fighting, Pang's forces fail to break through. Pang's ambition has pushed him too far. He overestimates his own strength and underestimates the resilience of the enemy, leaving his army trapped in a prolonged and exhausting siege. The three senior lords deliberately ignore Pang's operation in Sujo. They withhold supplies and refuse support, leaving his army stranded and vulnerable. With no other options, Pang turns to his rival imperial commander, Kui, and negotiates a deal. He requests a 10-day provision of food and weapons, promising to capture another rebel-held city, Nanking, and offer a share of the spoils while allowing the Kui army to claim the glory. In truth, Pang deceives them. His real plan is to take Sujo in just 2 days and then move on to Nanking before the Kui army arrives, ensuring his forces claim both victories and the honor. Pang and Jiang returned that night to learn Erhu had taken matters into his own hands and decided to go on single mission to Sujo. That night, Pang starts a secret affair with Lian Sheng, Erhu's wife. Inside Sujo City, the situation is dire. Food has run out, and starvation has taken over. The streets are filled with corpses. Erhu soon discovers that the city's commander is already considering surrender. The commander challenges him to a duel, revealing that he is willing to die. On one condition, the Imperials must spare the lives of the city's rebels and civilians. If he survives, the people will starve. Moved by the plea, Erhu agrees. With Erhu's sword, the commander ends his life, and the city, after holding out for an entire year, finally surrenders. Erhu exits the city victorious, just as Pang and his troops prepare to launch their attack. Relief flashes across their faces at the sight of each other, but the moment is short-lived. A new crisis emerges immediately. When Pang learns of the deal Erhu has made with the rebels, he refuses to honor it. The supplies are far too few to support both his men and the surrendered rebels. He makes a ruthless choice. Every surrendered soldier must be executed. The decision secures the survival of his army, but the cost is devastating. The move sparks a fierce dispute between Pang and Erhu. Even Jiang sides with Pang, leaving Erhu crushed. To prevent further interference, Pang places Erhu in temporary chains. Erhu bears the blame, branded a traitor for persuading the surrender. Pang then orders Jiang to oversee the massacre. With heavy hearts, Jiang and the troops carry it out. The air is thick with grief, regret, and tension like never before. Infuriated by the killings, Erhu considers abandoning the army. Pang pleads with him to stay, insisting the massacre was necessary. They must conserve their limited supplies for the next objective, capturing Nanjing, the rebel capital. Victory there could end the rebellion and prevent more bloodshed. Slowly, convinced of Pang's reasoning, Erhu reluctantly agrees to remain, though the weight of their actions lingers. Their conquest continues, and they eventually capture Nanjing, the capital of the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. Erhu remains deeply affected by the earlier massacre. Struggling to cope, he begins to act recklessly. Without authorization, he distributes military pay directly to the soldiers, an act considered a serious offense by the imperial court. This causes them to grow further apart. Erhu sinks into depression, spending his time drinking and watching performances, trying to escape his inner conflict. Sensing vulnerability, Kui steps in and quietly attempts to turn Erhu against Pang, but he refuses. Meanwhile, Jiang accidentally uncovers a dangerous secret. He witnesses Lian meeting Pang in private, suggesting an illicit affair that threatens to tear everything apart. Following the capture of Nanjing, the capital of the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, Pang is summoned to the imperial court to meet Empress Dowager Cixi. The Empress Dowager recognizes Pang's value and promises to reward him with the position of Governor-General of Jiangsu. With her endorsement, Pang stands on the verge of a powerful rise, closer than ever to fulfilling his lifelong ambition. Lord D persuades Pang to eliminate Erhu, claiming he had defied orders during the war and can no longer be trusted. It is a calculated move to strip Pang of his closest ally and strongest support. In truth, Erhu is never the real problem. The Imperial's target has always been Pang. Meanwhile, Erhu grows weary of military life in Nanjing and begins considering a return home. At that moment, he receives urgent news that Kui is planning to assassinate Pang. Without hesitation, he sets out to protect his sworn brother. Jiang soon senses something is wrong. Pang remains safely inside his chambers, yet allows Erhu to ride out in search of him. This raises suspicion in him. The truth becomes clear. Pang intends to eliminate his own brother. Believing the conflict centers on Lian, Jiang acts impulsively. He kills her, convinced it will resolve everything and protect their bond. Unaware of the betrayal, Erhu rides straight into a trap. On the outskirts, arrows rain down from hidden positions, striking him repeatedly. The next day, Pang prepares to assume his new role as Governor-General of Jiangsu. Heavy rain pours as he walks toward his coronation. Suddenly, Jiang appears and launches an attack, trying to uphold the brotherhood they once swore. At first, Pang refuses to engage him. But Jiang's bloodshot eyes and unwavering resolve force his hand. Pang retaliates. He strikes with precision and breaks Jiang's limbs, yet Jiang refuses to stop. He drags himself forward, driven by a single purpose, to kill Pang or die trying. Just as Pang prepares to continue toward his ceremony, a distant gunshot rings out and hits him. In the same instant, Jiang drives a blade into his body. Jiang freezes when he realizes Pang has been shot. Confusion and devastation wash over him. As Pang collapses, he allows Jiang to finish it, letting him fulfill their brotherhood oath. Pang believes his sacrifices serve a greater purpose. But to the court, he is nothing more than a pawn. While he excels on the battlefield, he lacks the political awareness needed to navigate the dangerous world of court power struggles. His rise ends the same way it began, in the chaos of power, where loyalty means little and survival belongs only to those who control the game. If this story hit you, don't leave without subscribing. This channel is all about powerful, emotional stories, hidden tragedies, and unforgettable journeys like this one. Drop a like if you felt the weight of this story and comment below. What moment hit you the hardest? Was it the rise, the brotherhood, or the betrayal? And make sure you turn on notifications because the next story might hit even harder.